Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second part of the Clint Eastwood series. In this video, I will try to focus on his career from a director point of view. Clint is known on set for filming very few takes and having an easy shooting schedule. He is fast and effective and often finishes ahead of schedule and under a budget.
Can I see you tomorrow? You don't listen, do you?
The first movie for Eastwood as a director and the first for Don Siegel as an actor. The first scene he shot was his Siegel's cameo as Murph the bartender. As a joke, Eastwood made Siegel do 11 takes, then told the cameraman to put the film in the camera. Given complete freedom by Universal Pictures, he finished shooting 4 days ahead of schedule and $50,000 under budget.
We sure would like it if you'd help us with our problem.
Only problem you've got, Sheriff, is a short supply of guts. You people don't need me. Everybody out. How long is it gonna take?
Clint scouted the locations himself while driving a pickup truck through Oregon, Nevada, and California. He chose the shores of Mono Lake because he considered the area highly photogenic. He is famous for being an extremely efficient director. This movie was filmed in 6 weeks and also came in under budget and 2 days ahead of schedule.
Who are you?
Miss, I don't pick up hitchhikers.
It's the best news I've heard all day.
You don't think that's important?
I don't understand.
From 1973 to 1988, this picture was known as the only Clint Eastwood movie in which he did not also star. It was filmed entirely in, near, and around Hollywood.
Breezy, there's no us. There never could be. Did you really think we could happen into something?
The price will be $20,000.
Twice your usual fee. Absurd.
You want the sanction performed, you pay $20,000.
This is the only movie that John Williams has scored for Eastwood. Because Williams knew that Eastwood was a huge fan of jazz, he did incorporate that style into it. It marked the last time that anyone was allowed to climb the totem pole in Monument Valley, Arizona. In return for permission to film there, climbers with the production had to remove all of the pythons, which had accumulated from years of climbing, on their way down. Philip Kaufman started to direct this movie, but was replaced by Clint Eastwood, which was a controversial move that prompted the Directors Guild of America to institute a ban on any current cast or crew member replacing the director on a movie, a rule which has ever since been titled the Eastwood Rule. The movie received a lot of high praise amongst Native American viewers for its non-stereotypical portrayal of Native Americans.
Got to do something for a living these days.
Dying ain't much of a living, boy.
This new police commissioner, this Blakelock, he's supposed to be very spit and polish.
Fuck him.
Yeah, but Jesus, God, Ben, you gotta watch the way you look. You can't...
Take this.
The movie's special effects team had a crew of 35 people and a budget of $1 million, a fifth of the cost. The movie is well known for its massive shooting firepower on a bus finale, but it featured 3 major action set pieces involving massive amounts of gunfire fired upon 3 entities, which were first a house, then a car, and third and finally, a coach.
All the good times we've been through, and there have been a lot of them, and all the bad times, it breaks my heart to think that the only reason you all came down the trail with me was for money.
You are nothing but an illiterate cowboy.
In a French interview, Clint said of this movie, it was an old-fashioned theme, probably too old-fashioned, since the film didn't do as well as we hoped. But if, as a director, I ever wanted to say something, you'll find it in Bronco Billy. It was shot on a very low budget compared to other movies made by Eastwood, and grossed around 5 times its budget cost at the box office. Though, Clint considered this take insufficient.
Is that you and I haven't made love yet?
Oh, let go of me.
You have been to the Soviet Union several times in the past few months. Is that correct, Mr. Sprague?
I've been here 6 times in the past few months.
At a budget of around $21 million, this movie, in constant dollars, is one of the most expensive of Eastwood's movies. Prior to the release, the cover art for the novel, Firefox, showed an aircraft similar to a MiG-25 Foxbat. There really is a MiG-31, and it's a modified version of the MiG-25 and is not known as the Firefox, but as the Foxhound.
You will not, of course, make it to wherever you are going.
So it's true then? You're gonna sing at the Grand Ole Opry?
Well, I'm afraid it's just an audition. That's if that car gets me there in one piece. It seems to have a mind of its own some of the time.
The only dream I got's going home.
Help!
Eastwood states how this was the first movie he ever made about a loser, a person who didn't want to be a winner, a theme he says he has visited several times since. He sings in this movie and previously sang in Paint Your Wagon, where he sang several songs and a duet with Lee Marvin called Best Things.
Think things over, Callahan. Get with it. It's a whole new ball game these days.
Funny. I never thought of it as a game.
The only Dirty Harry movie where the character responsible for the killings Harry investigates isn't killed by Harry at the end. He lets her go. This movie was not the first time that Clint directed himself as Dirty Harry, though it is the first entire movie where he did so. He directed the suicide jumper scene in Dirty Harry because its producer and director Don Siegel was ill.
Let the girl go, punk. Oh, let my baby go? I can't do that.
It's nothing like a shot of whiskey to whet a man's appetite.
This is the last Western where he plays the type of role that made him a movie star, a nameless character, known in this movie as the Preacher. It would also mark the last time he would ever have a beard in a movie. Though he did have some facial hair when first seen in Unforgiven. Apparently, the long gap between Eastwood making westerns, 9 and 7 years respectively, was caused by a midlife allergy to horses.
I think war's just been declared.
Though he has acted in earlier war movies and directed others later in his career, this is the only war movie of him where he both acted and directed. The U.S. Defense Department originally supported this movie but withdrew their backing after seeing a preview. Nevertheless, members of the Marine Corps have vouched for this movie's authenticity.
Because we're holding hands doesn't mean we're gonna take warm showers till the wee hours of the morning. You hear me?
Animal, I am in pain here. Can't you see that?
Hey, Mac, tell your trouble to somebody else.
Why?
The first Eastwood directed picture to receive significant awards. It won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and 2 awards at Cannes. Clint, a lifelong jazz fan, had been fascinated by Charlie, Bird, Parker and his music since seeing him play in Oakland in 1945. The saxophone playing is original Parker performances. The body and fingering are by Charles McPherson, who had to learn to breathe exactly like Parker did in the recordings. The first movie Clint directed where he did not cast himself in a role.
This is David Ackerman.
Oh, David. Pleasure meeting you.
Nick.
To attend White Hunter Black Heart's Con screenings, Eastwood halted production on this movie for 5 days. Reportedly, this cost an estimated $1.5 million. During the early stages of principal photography, Charlie Sheen had substance abuse problems. Eastwood reportedly took on a father figure role in disciplining Sheen into responsible behavior.
You see, we're gods, Pete. Lousy little gods who control the lives of the people we create. We sit up in some heavenly place and decide whether they live or die.
Are you convinced, Ralph, or would you like to continue on?
Eastwood agreed to do The Rookie in exchange for Warner Brothers letting him make this personal movie project. The main character, John Wilson, portrayed by Clint, was based on legendary director John Huston, who died 3 years before the release. It was one of his worst performing movies at the box office.
You see, Mr. Beauchamp?
This is the kind of trash I get.
Clint Eastwood joined a list of actors who have won an Oscar for directing, but not for acting. They include Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, Sir Richard Attenborough, Kevin Costner, and Mel Gibson. It laid to rest Eastwood's long-standing statement why he would never win an Oscar. He reckoned he would never be in the running because, firstly, he is not Jewish. Secondly, he makes too much money. Thirdly, and most importantly, because he doesn't give a fuck.
They killed him. I thought you knew that.
Nobody killed Ned. He didn't kill anyone. He went south yesterday.
I thought we'd take her with. Now how the hell are we gonna get out of here without a hostage? You tell me that. The whole goddamn neighborhood's awake.
We'll take the boy.
No! No! No!
I'll tell you what.
At one point during shooting, star Kevin Costner stormed off the set in a huff, but instead of waiting for him to return, Eastwood just continued to shoot the scene using Costner's stand-in. When Costner later returned to the set, shocked to discover that they just continued the scene regardless, Eastwood allegedly told him he was not there to jerk off and his double could play the whole movie. After that incident, Costner did not leave the set during shooting again.
Do I know you, friend?
No. Not really.
Huh.
Well, I wouldn't want to take you away from what you're doing.
No, I was just going to have some iced tea and then split the atom, but that can wait.
Okay.
I just get my shoes.
Go ahead. Give me a pose. Come on.
Robert Redford was originally set to direct and star in this movie. It was filmed in sequence in 36 days. Meryl Streep allegedly put on 15 to 20 pounds of weight for her role in this movie as a middle-aged housewife, and she used a body double for the mirror scene, which is a standard stipulation in her film contracts.
But now that you have it.
No, I'm not going to give you money for liquor or marijuana, cigarettes, whatever else you've invited into.
Fuck you, Jim. You don't give me warnings, I give them to you, remember, because I can back mine up.
There ain't no answers.
Lady Chablis, the transgender woman from Savannah featured in John Barron's book, plays herself in this movie adaptation. Most of the characters depicted in the movie were based on real Savannahians, but some details were changed for dramatic effect. The judge was played by Sonny Sailor, the attorney for James Arthur Williams during the trials.
He had his girlfriends and I had mine. But to me, sex is a perfectly natural thing.
Hurting me.
Damn you.
Eastwood's extremely organized methods of directing led to filming being completed over 3 weeks ahead of schedule and $2 to $4 million under budget. The hospital scenes were filmed using the set for ER series. It is one of a few Clint movies in the spy and espionage genre, and the first time he played a criminal since Escape from Alcatraz.
You made a mistake. When you went after my little girl, that was entirely unacceptable.
Why would I say I saw a gun if I didn't see a gun?
I don't know. Maybe you just like telling the story or telling the police or the reporters something they didn't already have. When my nose tells me something stinks, I gotta have faith in it.
Although the original novel is set in St. Louis, Clint Eastwood decided to relocate it to his native California as he was more familiar with the territory. It was a failure at the box office, earning back less than half of its production cost and making it Eastwood's second worst performing picture of the 1990s after White Hunter Black Heart.
You could be talking to me, baby, please. Dr. Corbin, your country needs you. Put a sock in it, Sonny. You can't fix it from down here, and you can't get a team up to speed in time.
Clint was initially just going to star in and produce this movie, not direct it. After potential directors thought filming space travel would be too difficult, he decided to do it himself. The main protagonists are all playing characters in the same age demographic. In actuality, only Eastwood and Garner are close in age, while Sutherland, and especially Jones, are too young to have been astronaut pilots in 1958, as mentioned in the script. Real astronauts, who saw an early screening of the movie, were impressed by how realistic space looked.
What are you talking about?
This gift you're talking about, I wouldn't have had it if somebody hadn't done this hateful, evil thing.
You're not making sense.
Thanks to Eastwood's no-frills, fast-paced shooting style and editing skills, this movie was in theaters a mere 4 months after completing photography. Due to his older, mature age, the character has heart problems. This was an acting challenge for Eastwood, as he has said, because it gave more obstacles to what he would do as a screen detective compared to when he was in his 30s or 40s.
Is she in there? Get off me, son! Is that my daughter in there? Is that my daughter in there?
This movie was shot in 39 days. Michael Keaton was originally cast as Sean Devine. He had done several script readings with the rest of the cast, but a month before principal photography was to start, Keaton and Eastwood got into a huge argument, and Keaton left the project. A week later, Kevin Bacon was cast in the role. Walla claimed that he filmed his scene in one take and without a single word of direction from Eastwood, who had such confidence in his acting that merely knowing his lines would be enough.
If only you'd been a little faster.
I don't train girls.
Maybe you should. People see me fight, say I'm pretty tough.
Girly, tough ain't enough.
These are my sleeping socks.
The movie was filmed in 37 days, but originally scheduled filming for 39 days. Boxing and kickboxing champion Lucia Ridgker, who also played the part of Billy, the Blue Bear, in this movie, was Hilary Swank's boxing coach. Hilary Swank underwent a serious training schedule to prepare for this movie. She gained nearly 20 pounds of muscle due to the workouts. At age 74, Clint became the oldest Best Director Oscar winner for this movie.
Excuse me for feeling sorry
for you. Eastwood had shot the movie in just over 50 days, or nearly half the original shooting schedule. He would deliberately not tell his actors where all of the special effects were rigged to explode in order to perfectly capture their looks of surprise. This was done with the actors' safety firmly in mind. Actual Marines from the 5th Marines were used as extras during filming aboard ship, as well as the training workup.
And Ira told him the truth. That it had been his son who raised the flag with him. His son in the photograph.
Shot back-to-back with flags of our fathers. The original plan was to tell both sides of the story in one movie. As production developed, it became obvious that there was too much to tell and that the two separate cultures created very different storylines. Ken Watanabe read actual letters sent by Imperial Japanese Army General Tadamichi Kuribayashi to his family from Iwo Jima while preparing for his role.
I was in the 1932 Los Angeles Olympics.
You hit him back? Good. Rule number 1, remember? Never start a fight. Always finish it.
I understand. You're feeling a little uncertain.
Eastwood agreed to direct the same afternoon he read the script. He cast Angelina Jolie at the suggestion of producer Ron Howard, who noted that Jolie's look would fit best with the time period, and also the part of the reason was that she is a mother, so she knows what it would feel like if one of her kids was kidnapped.
Because she tried to take matters into her own hand, best left to qualified officers. Because once civil
Because she was fighting for the life of her son! A boy who may have still been alive while you were wasting valuable time denying you had done anything wrong.
Come on, get the shit out of your mouth. Tell me what you want.
Do you have any jumper cables? My uncle's car is...
No, we don't have any jumper cables. And have some respect, Zipperhead. We're in mourning here. Well, I think you're an overeducated 27-year-old virgin who likes to hold the hands of old ladies.
In terms of box office, this movie is the most successful Eastwood movie ever, both in the US and the UK, but not with inflation. Taking inflation into account, his most successful movies are Every Which Way, But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. This is the only movie where he loses a gunfight, albeit deliberately.
Yeah, but I don't have a job, a car, or a girlfriend.
Jesus. I should have blown his head off when I had the chance.
Yeah.
What the heck are we doing? Lomu is calling us. Forwards. We must start scrumming. We must disrupt him at the first phase. We can't allow Lomu to get the ball in space.
Nelson Mandela said that only Morgan Freeman, who had been a friend of him for many years, could portray him. During the making of this movie, Eastwood became a fan of rugby. While in South Africa, he watched several hours of rugby every night and come in the next morning and talk about the matches. Eventually, he began to enjoy the sport.
Sometimes, very seldom, as president, I am allowed to do what I want.
For a while, it seemed that Matt Damon would be unable to appear in this movie due to his commitment to the Adjustment Bureau, so he suggested to consider others in his place. Instead, Eastwood was able to adjust the filming schedule so that Damon could appear in both movies. It was pulled from theaters in Japan after the devastating earthquake and tsunami that hit in March 2011.
And what follows in anything approaching a sensible fashion.
We allowed to use these, sir?
These are gifts from me to you. There's no law that prevents us from using our own weapons. Gentlemen, grab your guns.
According to Armie Hammer, Leonardo DiCaprio and he proposed to Eastwood to make the sexual relationship between the characters to be graphic, but he refused, arguing the screenplay didn't call for it. DiCaprio and Eastwood had a falling out during shooting. When Leo requested a retake, Clint called it a wrap and walked away. Both were cool to each other for the rest of the movie.
Shut the fuck up and push. Get in. Get in. Come on. Fuck your mother's ass. Come on, go, go, go.
Jon Favreau was the first director to be attached to this movie. While casting, he rejected Eric Bergen's audition, saying he wasn't right for the role. Bergen had spent the 3 previous years playing the role of Gaudio on stage. When Clint was brought on to direct, he hired Bergen for the role with 1 audition. Instead of using Hollywood actors for the main cast, Eastwood cast mainly stage actors who played the role every night on stage. The actors sang live on set.
That was the best.
Yeah, she's got a grenade. She's got an RKG Russian grenade. She's saying to the kid.
The real Chris Kyle once said that if there was a filmmaker that would make a movie about him, it would only be Clint Eastwood and no one else. Bradley Cooper described Eastwood's method of directing as very hands-on, and that director was frequently right beside him while filming the sniping scenes. To gain 40+ pounds, Bradley Cooper ate around 6,000 calories a day, which calculates to eating a meal every 55 minutes.
I'm ready to come home, baby.
You eyeballed it. Yes. The best chance those passengers had was on that river.
Chesley Sully Sullenberger was present at the studio. He supported the movie and helped it to reflect reality. Tom Hanks spent half a day with him at his Bay Area house during pre-production. Sullenberger said he was impressed by how well Hanks caught him. Eastwood deliberately filmed the escape onto the life raft without rehearsal in order to capture the physical difficulty of releasing the raft.
Any jet in history. But be cool, just make a left turn for LaGuardia like you're going back to pick up the milk.
Look, nobody's gonna cut up this truck, understand? Put whatever you want right back there next to the golf course.
This movie was based on the New York Times article, The Sinaloa Cartel's 90-Year-Old Drug Mule, by Sam Dolnick, which recounts and was inspired by the true story of Leo Sharp, a World War II veteran in his 80s, who became the world's oldest and most prolific drug mule for the Sinaloa Cartel. In this movie, however, this was changed to him being a Korean War vet, so the story could be set in 2017.
My ex-wife, you know.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there's an active shooter on base. You guys move this desk over to the door, make sure it can't open. Everybody else get under your desks. This is not a drill, move!
You Americans can't take credit every time evil is defeated. Yeah.
Eastwood enlisted the actual Americans who took down the terrorists to play themselves in this movie. The first person to tackle the terrorist on the train was a Frenchman. He later asked to remain anonymous because he feared reprisals from other Islamists living in France. At 1 hour and 34 minutes, this has the shortest running time out of all of Eastwood's directorial projects. Filming of the concerts and bombing scenes took place in the same location as the original incident site of Atlanta's Centennial Olympic Park. Filming of the bombing scene was done on the 23rd anniversary of the original bombing. This is Clint Eastwood's 38th movie as a director. Through his career, Eastwood was nominated 11 times and won 4 Oscars. while his movies were nominated 41 times and won 13. He directed 12 different actors in their Oscar-nominated performances. 5 of them won. He received countless other wins and nominations. And that's all, my friends. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?